peace and greetings and all that good shit to all the gods and goddesses on the path of doing your work. Alright. Haven't done one of these videos in a bit. I'm trying to get back on the shooting a little upload videos on Fridays if I can, schedule permitting, obviously. What I like to, again, utilize these videos for is, kind of addressing emails, stuff I get, or questions or content I get in the emails. I think this is a good method to do it because, as I said before, it's hard for me to get to every email. I just don't got the time. Real quick, I did receive, just to put it out there, as I mentioned on the live feed the other night, I am finishing up the curriculum for the winter session of classes that are going to begin in the middle to late January. I will respond back. I will add people to that list and get that information out. So that should be done by this weekend. Those classes again will start mid to late January. If you are interested in attending our December ritual, we're not going to be doing any ritual this month. We're taking a break after the conference of the Black Adept number 2, which was a lot of stuff we did during that 3-day period. So we'll resume on the 27th of December. We're going to do the ritual of Samael. We're going to be working with the Samael energy in that ritual, tapping into the connection between the mysteries of life and death. That's what we're going to be working on for the 27th of December. If you're interested in attending that ritual and you want to request an invite, and I'll have that flyer done. I just haven't been able to get to a lot of this stuff. That'll be sent out soon, but you got to email me, request an invite to attend that working/ritual. Also on, excuse me, next year we have the date set for the Journey of the Black Adept Conference number 3, just to keep putting it out there, October 26th to the 28th of 2020, so you can lock those dates in. And if you are deciding to come this year, as we saw it grew more than double this year, you can start preparing and lock those dates in. If you're interested in a spiritual consultation or a reading, shoot me an email, khnum19@gmail.com. You'll see it in the description box, all the videos if you forget. In that email, specify the days and times you are available. Specify if you want a reading or a consultation. And important thing, the time zone you live in. This way we can set up a time and a date that works and it's convenient for both of us. Alright? That's pretty much a couple quick announcements I want to throw out there. One last thing. I might be changing the days going live to Mondays and Wednesdays instead of Tuesdays and Thursdays. It just seems like I got a lot of things coming up on Tuesdays and Thursdays, more so Thursdays. So I'm thinking about changing those days. And starting next week, we're doing it Monday lives. I'm going to say still wrestling with that, but we'll see. Other than that, so what I kind of want to just, and again, it's not going to be a super long video, maybe 30 minutes or so. What I wanted to kind of touch on, I got some emails about some content from the video a couple nights ago dealing with astrology. So I want to talk about not just astrology, but let's talk a little bit about astrology, numerology, using systems of divination on the left-hand path, the path of self-mastery. Is it a system, a practice, or a methodology that is used? Most definitely. It's something that's used depending on the individual's path. Some individuals just use it for themselves to get answers in dealing with any of those aspects, numerology, astrology, or divination. Some actually utilize it, such as myself, and offer consultation and reading services to people also. So it's used in a variety of methods, but I want to kind of go through a few things and touch on a few things in regards to that. We got to make sure we're using it wisely. I was going to say correctly, but again, wisely is kind of along those lines, and I want to be clear when I say this. What I got some emails about, when I was talking about on the show a couple nights ago about especially astrology, it's not the tell-all be-all. The problem is sometimes people approach the astrology aspect of spirituality as if it's the tell-all be-all. And some people go to the extreme and they completely live their lives based on what comes up in their astrological charts or astrology readings. And that's not really a smart thing to do on a wide scale whole level, and I'm going to explain. Same thing with numerology. Numbers project consciousness. There's keys, hidden meanings to them that have to be unlocked, especially if you're getting a reading, whether it's astrology, numerology, and how that applies to you. Again, I've seen people get a little too fanatical and they start seeing numbers, and you can overread into things is what I'm trying to get at, all right? And systems of divination, whether it's oracles, runes, tarot cards, the pendulum. I'm just throwing a few out there. There's so many different tools of divination that can be used on this path. One, you have to always remember, if you're using any of these tools, okay, and you're doing your reading, whether it's astrology, numerology, or divination, remember, I always tell my clients this, and people that work with me, if you've done readings with me, you know one of the key things I describe or explain to you, this is the current energy that you have around you at the moment. So for an example, you can do a reading, let's say today, okay, and come back 2-3 months later and do another reading, and it could be completely different. Or if whatever came up in the first reading as far as work, things you need to do, you didn't do, it could connect to that reading. But the important thing that has to be understood, you need to focus when you're using those systems of what you got going on around you right now. Now, it's not the tell-all be-all, because you still have the ability to manipulate the energy, which is beneficial in your favor, okay? When you use it as the complete tell-all be-all, as if you're at the mercy of it, and what it says, you still have the ability to make change. That's the purpose of working magic. Now, that information and that knowledge and awareness should be used in a beneficial aspect to better yourself, okay? It's supposed to be used for you as a tool so you can continue to have that knowledge and awareness, but then utilize that information to do work, to make changes for beneficial outcomes, etc. You get the point. Should never be approached where you're completely at the mercy of what that says. You know, some people, I get feedback, they've done, again, many systems of spirituality use a lot of these systems, numerology, astrology, and divination. It could be New Agers do it, Wiccan people, or people that practice Wiccan, do it. It's utilized on the left-hand path also, but I want to make this clear. I think it's utilized a lot different on the left-hand path, and I can only say how I utilize it. Now, depending on the type of readings you're doing, because if you're working with different archetypes, demons, goetia, deities, that plays a large role. Now, traditional tarot, or how like the traditional tarot deck is set up, to me that's more New Ager type of stuff. Like if I do readings, I don't use a traditional tarot deck. I like to use systems dealing with Lucifer, the archdemons, the 12 princes of hell, the Goetia / Lord of Darkness, working or communicating or using divination systems and oracles with the spirits of the dead. So I think the methodology is a little bit different. Even astrological readings, you can use any of the aforementioned aspects. But again, it has to be taken in the approach that has to be utilized, which is key, is how can you use that knowledge and awareness to move forward on your path and better yourself. Not, well, I was told this. I get this nonsense all the time. I was told this in a reading, and this is why this is happening, and now I know why I'm having these problems. And okay, but what are you doing to fix the problems? It's great you got the awareness, of what's going on or what's causing it. But if there's no solutions to follow it up, then we're doing a disservice by using these systems. Okay, that's the very important thing. And I think it gets overlooked. I think it gets overlooked because sometimes the person that's doing the consultation or the reading, they're trying to come into it with preconceived notions of a couple of things. One, sometimes people want to hear how great and spiritual they are, and they don't get that. And what tends to come up, especially when I do readings, is maybe some emotional or traumatic shit or issues or some other stuff you got going on. And sometimes the spirits will shift it to a completely different direction, and it fucks people's heads up sometimes because they're coming into it again with this mentality. They want to be told, oh, they're this and they're that, and this spirit walks with them, and that stuff comes up sometimes. But when you come into it with a mindset like that, you're doing yourself a disservice because you're not putting yourself in a receptive state of mind to embrace whatever knowledge and awareness comes through. That is, in my opinion, the correct way to use any of these tools, whether it's astrology, numerology, or divination. Very important. All right? So it's not about doing it because you want to find out you're a son or a daughter of a particular spirit or whatever the fuck. Because then we got to ask ourselves, what kind of false sense of ego are we projecting? Okay? That's where an aspect of your ego can be a blockage for you, because you're spending all your time and energy focusing on how special you are, or you might be trying to project that image or trying to portray it so badly that you're blocking the real awareness that's trying to get through. So we need to utilize these systems as tools of awareness, right? Same thing with numerology. Like if I do readings, my readings consist of a combination of numerology, astrology, when I'm using divination, especially when I do readings with the Goetias / Lord of Darkness, the whole Lucifer oracle. There's numbers and astrological signs that go along with that, but I clearly explain to the individual what this represents, and I give you I can only give you a certain amount of awareness that you need so you can move forward. But the key is I show you how you utilize and work with the stuff that comes up in your readings or your consultations. Because if you can't utilize it and it's just information and it's just telling you this and it's telling you that, and it makes you feel good for the moment, you get this false sense of security that you're special or whatever, but you can't take that from that point, move forward and utilize it to evolve on your path, then to me it's pointless. Alright? So we want to make sure we're taking the approach that we're using this as a tool of knowledge. Alright? Now that to me separates how it's utilized on this path as opposed to other paths. And you shouldn't, there's some people literally that govern their daily life according to this, whether it's horoscopes, you name it. They kind of even utilize this. They can get so fanatical that they utilize it to make every single decision on a daily basis. I don't really recommend that. When you're understanding your astrological sign, your natal chart, your birth chart and all that, yes, it shows you the energies you walk with. It shows you what you're connected to. It'll help you, again, as I said the other night, understand your personality, your characteristics, your behavior, your likes, your dislikes, why you do certain things. And that's utilizable information, but that same information can be utilized in your magic to correct if there's areas that need to be worked on, that you need to focus more time and attention to. Then that's what you need to do. You understand? That's what you need to do. But to just get in and go, oh, my moon is in Gemini, and this identifies why I got. All right, but what are you going to do with that? It's great that you know, but what are you going to do with it? Knowing is one thing, applying it is an entirely different thing. All right? So, this is how we should, in my opinion, approach it. All right? Now, with numerology, right? Numbers. Let's talk a little bit about that real quick. Just a couple more quick things before I wrap this up. And I thought these were some good emails that I got, because I know, that as I said, these systems or tools, divination, astrology, and numerology, they're used in many different paths of spirituality. Not just obviously on the left-hand path, but again, I want to stress, I think we use it differently on this path when we're working with darkness and we're working with the Klepothic. And most of the readings I do are centered around the Klepothic tree and the demons, archdemons, princes of hell, Goetia / Lord of Darkness. That's the energy I prefer to work with, because when you're working with that type of energy, especially in consultations and readings, it's going to bring out areas of work or improvement that the person doing the consultation is going to need in their life. I'm just telling you, it's guaranteed. So I think when we're using these tools on this path, we're more concerned with figuring out what it is we can do to better ourselves, or what areas in our life do we need to work on to improve or correct. To me, that's the important thing. Not to feel special and deep because you found some spiritual shit out by your astrological chart or whatever the fuck. I mean, how far is that going to get you? But just make you feel good, get a fuzzy, warm moment. So, numbers and numerology, all right? Numbers, like anything else. I know people always email, I'm seeing this number all the time, or I wake up at this time, the clock always says that, or everywhere I go I look, I see this number, or I see the mathematical equation of this number when I add it up, etc. Numbers are like symbols. They project certain levels of consciousness, and you can unlock hidden meanings through those numbers in your consciousness. But again, we have to draw that fine line of not getting too overly fanatical. Okay? It doesn't mean because every time you look at the clock you see 3:33, I add those three numbers up at 9, well, that means that 9 represents this, and does that mean, that I'm special because 9 is such a sacred number? No. I mean, when you look at it, what it could reflect in a lot of things, it depends on, again, the methodology that we're talking about, right? You can apply, for an example, if you're seeing 7s, 8s, 9s, 5s, 3s, like in certain systems, 3s represent the 3 basic elementals of knowledge, wisdom, understanding, right? 7, in most of these divination systems, when we're using numerology, can represent completion. 8, infinity, completion, 7 completion, 8, infinity, 9, which means 9 when we flip to 10, 1, 0, going to usually a transitional phase, a great change. I'm talking about when we use these numbers, when they come up frequently in a reading of divination that's connected to numerology. That's one way. There's many ways to use this. Then there's just straight numbers. You can, as we had Brother Kevin, who did a presentation at the conference on Gematria, which deals with numbers. It's connected to numerology. It's not quite numerology, but he showed in that sequence how taking the day you were born, taking the total number of letters in your name, your family name, and show how there's a connection with those numbers as far as events in your life. Right? That's another form or a system of using numbers. Right? Now, the thing is, it's good, get that information. But one thing that Kevin said in that presentation, and we're going to get ready to post some clips of that soon, he doesn't use it to dictate every aspect of his life. That's not the way it should be used. It should, again, just like I was just talking about with astrology, should be used as a tool of awareness. So if you see that connection through the numbers and you see a pattern developing, so when them numbers come up moving forward, you can identify those patterns and, if need be, on the spot, manipulate it through your magic. So we always have to remember, we are always in control. This applies, when you hear me say that, with working magic and rituals and utilizing systems or different paths. This is no different. So let's not get that twisted. This is no different at all. We are still in control. So we are not at the mercy of any of these tools, be it astrology, numerology, or divination. It is not the tell-all, be-all. We shouldn't be living our lives reliant on it 100% as if it should dictate every choice or decision we can make. And unfortunately, there are people that do that, and I think that's just a little bizarre and fanatical. And I've seen people get real messed up doing it. All right? So that's kind of what I wanted to run through quick, breakdown. Still got a few more minutes. I'm in line, actually, waiting to get my little man, so I'll wait till the line starts moving. But I wanted to kind of run through that because I got some emails and questions on that, because I was discussing a little bit about it. I didn't go into too long a depth on the live the other night, the video the other night. I forgot how it came up. It came up for some reason, but I figured I'd just take time in this short video to address that. So again, my goal and objective, and I gotta be clear on this. Others might watch this video and work with astrology, numerology, and divination and have a difference of opinion of what I said, and rightfully so. That's their choice. They can. But remember, I'm explaining how I utilize it from a left-hand path perspective. So if you're watching this video and you're not on the left-hand path or the path of self-mastery, and you're dealing, let's say, more with a New Age tradition or more light side occult tradition or high magic, then you may not really be able to fully resonate with what I just went through. I only utilize it in that methodology, the way I just explained. Well, honestly, whether people agree with it or not, I couldn't really care, because it's pointless. Because I know how I've been using it for years, and clients that I've worked with for years. Even though I don't put bogus ass web pages up with testimonials, that always kills me. Check my page out with my testimonials, okay? Like, that doesn't mean you can't get people to do that for you, but that's a whole nother story. So that's why I don't bother with shit like that. But word of mouth, and I know people, you could ask if you know somebody, word of mouth, they will tell you it's accurate, it's on point, whether I do it for myself or I do it for somebody else. And that's the key, because if you can get things that are concrete and you can move forward and utilize them things to benefit from them and evolve on your path, then to me that's true divination, that's true astrology, and that's true numerology. Okay, so I want to make that clear. I'm explaining it from being on this path, working this system. Okay, that's important, because it differs a little bit from maybe how mainstream people use it. And it's no different when I was talking about the Hermetica and the lost wisdom of the pharaohs. I made that clear. I think I had 2 emails about that. How people were kind of interested coming from that perspective, because they kind of looked at it, I guess you can say, religiously. Now, and that's why if you go back when I was doing the video, I was pointing out, when I was reading literally from some of those Hermetic texts, that a lot of this is theory. It's dealing with the theology of some of the Egyptian mysteries. But I was showing how, again, we look at it from being on this path and how we apply it. Because there's a lot of stuff in there. Technically, the Hermetica wouldn't be a text that somebody would officially label somewhere left-hand path philosophy. No. But can we utilize it? Yes, in our methodology and approach, because there's a lot of things in there by nature that are left-hand path. Even though it's not labeled officially left-hand path, there are a lot of things in there that we can apply. Now, I bring that up because just like astrology, numerology, and divination, whether it's the Hermetica, whether it's the Emerald Tablets of Tahuti, we can take any of these things. But how do I take it and utilize it the correct way on my personal path? See, that's where the disconnect comes in. Because if you're gonna base that on how mainstream tradition is using that, you're gonna get fucked up. Because you're not gonna see the connection. Because the outside is gonna look in and go, I don't understand how you're using that. That's bizarre, or that's off the cusp, or that's out of the norm. Exactly, and that's what left-hand path is. It's not a conformist path. It is outside of the norm. We don't agree with all mainstream ideology and thinking. And that's why I said before, we got a lot of people I'm starting to see in the last few years in doing this. But mainly in the last, I'm going to say 2+ years, I'm starting to see a lot of fake-ass motherfuckers come on this path. And what do I mean by that? I talked about it in some videos. I ain't going to get into it too much right now for the sake of time. I'm about to wrap it up shortly. Once this line gets moving. We got people that are they want to play Egyptian, and they're Kemetic, and they're mixing this Kemetic fluffy Egyptian shit and this other light side of bullshit with the occult and dark magic, and they're gonna get themselves fucked up, and it's gonna create a lot of mental instabilities in them on a conscious and a subconscious level. I'm just gonna keep it real. When you start mixing and watering that shit down with all that fluffy Kemetic shit. And this is why I'm trying to really, really go off the cusp and stay away from the paradigm. Everybody wants to be Egypt, and everybody wants to connect with the Orishi, and everybody wants to be, I'm trying to now really, really move away from that paradigm. Because if we don't move away from it and really focus on ourselves and really get the understanding that it's about us, we get sucked right back into that paradigm, which leads subconsciously to a system of being a follower. So I only really work with, and I've narrowed it down and really have made that choice, I've only really worked with an aspect of the 7 African powers as a form of a gatekeeping energy that connects you to those dark spirits. And Legba, which is really another incarnation of Lucifer, Satan, Diablo, the devil, whatever you want to call it, but it's a road path aspect. I'm even thinking about doing a whole video on that, breaking that down. But outside of that, I really don't even want to fuck with none of that stuff no more, because it sucks you right back into that paradigm. And we got to get out of that. We got to move away from that. I'm even next year thinking about, at the conference next year, we're gonna do a black magic, satanic type of drumming, if you want to call it that, a Lucifer dark energy type of drumming, and shift away from a lot of that mainstream ancestral stuff, because by shifting that paradigm and putting that energy out there is what's going to bring about the shift and the awareness, so people can start moving away from that stuff. Very important. So anyway, all that's kind of connected. I basically wanted to just show how we're always in control. We're never at the mercy of any of these systems or tools that we use on this path, because we are the gods or the goddesses that are controlling it. We're the facilitators of it. And the only way we fall victim or prey is when we remove ourselves from the equation, thinking we're at the mercy of something. Once we accept that as a reality, then it happens. It comes into existence. You are your thoughts, right? You learn that in alchemy and mysticism. You become your thoughts. So if you start thinking that stuff, it happens. It becomes your personal reality. But a real god or goddess on this path always knows, I'm in control. I allow what I bring in or reject. I say yes or no to what it is that is proper for me. I decide if I'm gonna or I'm not going to. Okay? It's that simple. You must accept that every day and stamp that into your subconscious mind that you are God/goddess and you are in control at all times. Never forget that. Alright? Other than that, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to wrap it up. Again, I'm going to just get a little more thought over the next day or two. I might change the days of the live, at least for the next couple of months. Part of the reason is I have, I get, tickets to a lot of hockey games during this time of the year to see my team play, which is the Florida Panthers. Go Cats. And a lot of the games just tend to sometimes fall on a Thursday to the tickets I get. And sometimes Tuesday. But that and some other personal things and some other personal work I got going on. And it just seems Mondays and Wednesdays seem to be more free and open. So I'm thinking about, at least for the time being, trying the Monday and the Wednesday thing out, see how it works out. Alright? Anyway, you guys know where to reach me. You see my email, khnum19@gmail.com. It's in the description box of all the videos in case you forget. And I will see everybody on the next live. Peace.